I think what you remember, looking back, you remember the people that you meet and the people that you work with. And I've been blessed, to work with great actors. As a jobbing actor, I've been very lucky. We never give up, just the phone stops ringing. I was born in London, in Clapham Common, and we had a house in Stormont Road, and but of course then the war broke out, the Blitz, and my mother thought it was a good idea for me to go down to stay with my grandmother. So my sister Babs and I were shipped off to Berkhamsted, and then sadly my father died while we were down there, and we never moved back to London. I was brought up by a darling mum and a sister and maiden aunts. I was surrounded by women. My grandmother became my mother, and my mother became really my dad, because she had to go out and, and earn the pennies. I failed my 11 plus, so I never really had an education. So you used to go, in those days, you went to a secondary modern school, and you left at 15, and you become apprentices. We were all carpenters or electricians or plumbers, and I was an apprentice printer. But while I was at school, I was cast in an operetta called Dogs of Devon, and it was the first time I'd acted on a stage, and I thought, gosh, this is rather fun. Enid, who was my English teacher, she cast me in A Midsummer Night's Dream as Bottom, and I got lots of laughs, and I love that feeling of getting laughs, and I thought, this is fun. And I thought acting was like a hobby. I never said I want to be an actor. I never thought about being an actor. It was all because of Enid, really, because she was the one at school. The corn is green. You always have that teacher that, really makes an impression and takes you on board and encourages you. So she was a mentor and said to me, Derek, don't give up your acting, because I think you have a talent. But I had a talent for playing cricket and football, and I was a cub, I was a scout, I had the most wonderful childhood in Burco. So, well, come into my office. This is the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, my honours diploma, so I'm pretty chuffed with that. I treasure these letters from Alec Guinness and from Peter Cushing, and I just read them occasionally and think, wasn't I lucky to meet them both? I went away to do my national service in Malta. Out there I met a sergeant in the army called Donald Douglas, and he and I joined the same drama group in Malta. And Donald said to me, I want to be an actor. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm going to try for RADA. And he said, well, why don't you have a go? And I said, I don't think my mother will allow me to become an actor. Anyway, he wrote to RADA for me, and through the post came all these speeches that I had to learn, and I stood on the stage and I couldn't see anybody. It was all very dark, and they said, hello, and I said, hello, who are you? Where are you? And what are you going to do for us? I said, oh, well, I'm going to do a bit from The Seagull, and then I did Gunga Din, can you believe? And then they said, we'll let you know. And I said, look, you have to tell me, because I'm supposed to go back to work at the factory on Monday morning, and you have to give me a scholarship and a grant, otherwise I can't come here. Anyway, they came to me and said, will you come back on Thursday and do 2 more pieces. And I did a bit from Bottom that I played at school, and I did a bit from School for Scandal, and I went back and I said, "Hello, it's me, I'm back." And they said, "What have you got for us?" I said, "I'm going to do this." And they said, "Thank you very much. We'll let you know." And I had to wait 10 days. And then I was in bed, and my mother, we had a bell. I've still got the bell upstairs. She rang the bell and she said, "There's a letter from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art." I said, "Bring it up, bring it up." And I can see my mum sitting on the end of my bed. It's a memory. Yeah, she sat on the end of my bed, and I said, "Well, open it." Because this was life changing, really. I had no idea. And she opened it. And she said, "Ooh," she said, "you've won a scholarship and a grant, and you start on April the 2nd, 1958. I was very, very lucky, and it was great because I followed Donald all the way through drama school. And when I arrived in my class, I had Tom Courtney and John Thor and Susanna York and Bill Gaunt and Edward Fox and Sarah Miles, and it was a wonderful class. This is what my sons call the Shrine, or the Rogues Gallery. This is a play I did in a private matter with Alastair Sim. Mind you, his name is Feeding. These are some of the plays I did in Worthing. How Are You, Johnny? With Ian McShane, which we took into the West End. This play I did in London with Laurence Harvey, Rupert Davis. Laurence was wonderful, and he took me out to Monte Carlo for a holiday, and he introduced me to Frank Sinatra. So I shook hands with Frank Sinatra, all because of knowing Laurence Harvey. He died when he was 46. Terrible. I think what you remember, looking back on your career, is you remember the people that you meet and the people that you work with. And I've been blessed, to work with great actors, Alec, Guinness, Kenneth Moore, Dirk Bogarde, Laurence Harvey, Alastair Sim, and the wonderful Robert Morley, and doing Hotel Paradiso and spending time with Robert. What a wonderful man, generous, funny. He asked me once, he said, "Derek, who do you think's the best actor, Alec or myself?" I said, "Well, you can't ask me things like that, Robert. I mean, it's not fair. You're both wonderful actors." He said, come on. You must tell me, be honest." So I said, "Well, I think Alec is a great actor, and you're a great personality." He said, "Well, you got away with that very well." No, I had lovely times with Alec and Robert. And then there was Gina Lollobrigida, who Alec didn't get on with her at all. Didn't show in the film, but I remember I had a scene where Gina was standing next to me, And she was stunning. I remember looking into her eyes one day, and as they were lighting, and I said, "You have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen." And I meant it genuinely. And she just looked me up and down and called for her stand-in and walked off the set and never spoke to me again. Working with these people, Kenneth Moore, generous, kind, wonderful man. Dirk Bogarde was so kind to me. We did a doctor in film, A Doctor in Distress, and then he took me out to Florence for a holiday. I was doing a play in Worthing, and the stage doorman said, "Derek." "Yeah." "Dirk Bogarde on the phone." I said, "What?" So I said, "Hello." He said, "It's Dirk." I said, "Hello." He said, "What are you doing? Do you want to come to Florence for a holiday?" I said, "What?" He said, "There's a scene I have to do in this film. You just lie by a swimming pool, and I burn your hand, and I take your, clothes tag, and that's all you have to do." I said, "Do I say anything?" He said, "No." He said, "You could do it." Oh! And if you ever see that film, it's never off. And people ring me up and say, "You didn't do much in that, did you?" And it was Dirk and Betty Box who took me out for a holiday. Yeah, I love Dirk. I've been acting now for 60 years, and everyone believes I've only done 3 jobs. I mean, I've done 14 plays in the West End, and not a lot of people know that. And I've been lucky to travel all over the world, really. And but people really believe that I've done Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister, Heartbeat, and the Mr. Derek with my friend Basil. I thought, I'm a classically trained actor. What am I doing with my arm around a bit of fur, looking into a couple of buttons? It was different. I found it quite difficult to get to know me, because most actors don't know who they are. They like to hide behind, different people, different characters. I gradually found a way of doing it, and I think it was the second series that I very nearly didn't do when they asked me to do another series. But I had 2 small boys, and they offered me a bit more money. And I did enjoy working with Ivan Owen, who looked after Basil, and lovely George Martin, who wrote these scripts. And I thought, okay, I'll do a second series. And it was that series that kind of something extraordinary happened, that one day I was laughing with Basil, and I looked at him, and the buttons became eyes, and I put my arm around him, and the fur became a tail, and I fell in love with Basil. He became my best mate, and we went on to do 8 series and 2 Royal Command performances, and when I left, I missed him. Coming out week after week in front of kids saying, "Hello, welcome to the show." I did feel a prat most of the time, but working with Ivan, he had the most wonderful timing. And Basil was unique. He was very, very funny. And George Martin's scripts were brilliant. And we did have a lot of fun. And it was through working with Ivan that I discovered how to be me. I'm not me very often. There are a couple of photographs here. This is a Royal Command performance I did with Basil Brush, meeting the Queen and the Duke. And of course, Ivan Owen, who did Basil, the Queen and the Duke had no idea who he was. over here we're meeting the Queen Mum. And there is Ivan, who was Basil Brush. There's myself, and here is the great George Martin, who wrote all the Basil Brush scripts. I remember one day going into my agent's office and coming out was Jonathan Lynn. Now, I knew Johnny Lynn as an actor. And I said, "Hello, Jonathan, how are you?" And he said, "Very well, Derek, nice to see you." And I said, is he on his own in there? He said, "Yes, he's waiting for you." My agent. So I went in and I said, "What's he doing here? What's Jonathan doing here?" And my agent then was David White. And he said, "Oh, he's casting a new series." I said, "Oh, is there anything for me in it, as you do?" He said, "No, there's nothing for you." I said, "Oh, well." Anyway, I went back home and the phone rang. And David said, "Well, Jonathan's just been on the phone and he saw you in the office and he said, there may be a part for you in this new series." And I said, "Oh, well, what is it?" He said, "It's called Yes, Minister." And I said, "Is it about vicars?" Thinking it might be a religious comedy with Derek Nimmo in it. And he said, "No, it's about politics." I said, "What? A sitcom about politics?" He said, "We're going to send you a script." And he sent me the script and I loved it. I thought this was different and exciting. And I said to my agent, I'd love to do it. And that's how I got the part. We did the pilot in 1979, but they had to wait for a year because of the election. We didn't know who was going to get in. So the writers, Jonathan and Tony J, they had to wait to see. And then we started the series in 1980, and we had 7 glorious years. I wish we were doing it now. Can you imagine doing Yes, Minister now? Paul did say a lot to me when we were camera rehearsing, and he did. I remember he said to me once, "It's a masterclass for you, this, Derek, isn't it?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, you get to stand between me and Nigel every week. It's a masterclass." People used to say, you sit there between the two of them, and they have this long dialogue between them, and you don't say anything. But for me, I always had the line at the end. And Paul, you say we could cut that, And it was just such a privilege and a pleasure to be with them, really. I had no idea that it would be the success. Paul did say one day, "This is our pension, I said, "What are you talking about?" "They'll be showing this forever." I said, Is it that good?" He said, well, we are. And I just love them. I did tease them both, and we just had a great friendship, which I treasure. Because of Yes, Minister, I was phoned up and said, "Would you like to do a film in Australia?" It was called Over the Hill. I thought, oh, God. I said, "Why me?" They said, "Well, they've seen you in Yes, Minister." I said, "Are you sure it's me?" They said, "Yes, you." The director phoned me from Australia and said it's with Olympia Dukakis. He told me about the film, the part. And before I knew it, it was 1991. I was on the plane and arrived. And I had just seen Moonstruck, where Olympia Dukakis had won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. She was wonderful. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed our company. Brilliant actress, but so much fun. And she was interested in you and interesting, and we had so much fun together. The film wasn't a success as we hoped it would be, but she wrote a wonderful letter to me and said it will never take away from the joy that we've had working together in Australia. That meaning that the film it didn't get a release here. I remember a funny story. I was with my partner Joe then, and we were in Costco, and she was looking through the barrel at the checkout to look at the DVDs. Suddenly she said, "Hey, look!" And she pulled out the film Over the Hill for £1.50. How about that? Anna Massey, she's gone. There's my Hamlet. Not a lot of people know I played Hamlet. This is The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner with dear Tom Courtney, John Thor, Jimmy Bolam, and me trying to get into the act there. Run for Your Wife. There are the boys of Heartbeat. And over here, we joined the Navy with the wonderful Wendy Toy, who directed, and Jeremy Lloyd, Dinsdale Landon, and myself as the 3 midshipmen. 10 weeks of utter joy that was, with the wonderful Kenny Moore. And over here is my dear friend Diana Hoddinott, who played Jim Hacker's wife in Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. She's a great, great friend and a delight to know, and God bless her. She's terrific. I remember one day being phoned up. The News of the World phoned me up. I was doing something else. And they said, "We just want to know your reaction." I said, "Whoa. Well, your co-stars in Yes Minister have been awarded the CBE." And I said, "What for?" And where's mine? And I was thrilled. I don't know. And and that was the headline in the News of the World. Bernard says, "What for?" I love them dearly and admired them tremendously, and we became very close friends. It was a joyous, wonderful time. 7 years of heaven, really. We were very lucky to be a part of that programme. And I miss them, the boys. I remember when I was doing Heartbeat, Paul Ennington phoned me up one day and said, "Hello, Derek." I said, "Hello, Paul." He said, "I've just seen Heartbeat." I said, "Really? Are you on the right channel?" And he said, "No." He said, no, you're very good in it." I said, "Well, thank you very much, Paul." He said, "Don't stay too long." I loved the first 6 years of Heartbeat when I played the sergeant. And I loved the crew, and loved the cast, Nick Berry, Neve Cusack. And I thought the first 6 years were very special, very authentic, very much of the period. And it became a big, huge success. As the years, it had to change. When Nick left and you had different leading men, and my character was retired and went to the pub. And so it did change, inevitably, and it's been great. 18 years, I think it needed a revamp. I think it had changed so much, and I think it could have gone on, but the cast changes, and it became a kind of guest-driven show, but it was still watched by 7 million, and I think it could have gone on, but it probably was the right time to end it. And I still get letters, and it's repeated on ITV3, and people still love it. And I think I stayed because I enjoyed the money. I enjoyed the security, but I got to love the crew. We became a kind of family, and I loved Yorkshire and the location, and it was just a great job to have. As a jobbing actor, I've been very lucky. We never give up. Just the phone stops ringing. Yeah.
Actors don't retire, do
They don't retire, no, they don't give up the business. The business sometimes gives you up, but not yet, not yet. When I became an actor, my mother said, I'd like 3 things to happen to you. And I said, what are they, Mum? She said, I'd love to see your name in lights. And she did. And I said, what's next? She said, I really would love to see you on the front cover of Radio Times. And she did. And I said, what's next? And she said, I hope I'm alive when they do This Is Your Life. And I said, Mum, that will never happen. But in 1993, while I was doing Heartbeat, it did happen. And Michael Aspel came in with a big red book. And afterwards, I said to Mum, I said, right, they're your 3 wishes. And she looked at me and she said, I can go now. And that was something that really, got to me. But she did die a year later. And she was the most fantastic woman and a wonderful mum. Always in my heart.